Hello, and thank you everyone to showing up for another episode of the Cultured Nerd Podcast. This week we're on episode 50, which, if you're doing your math properly, this is 50 out of 52 weeks of the year, and somehow we lost track of scheduling. But I just blame it on a few weeks where we decided to do 2 or 3 episodes for y'all. But either way, this is episode 50. And we are going to talk about all the fun stuff that have just happened. So the SAG Strike is officially over. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the Loki Season 2 finale, the recent Rebel Moon trailer that came out of Netflix just the other day, the Marvels clearly bombing and showing signs of superhero fatigue, or is that what it actually is? The new Ghostbusters movie, which looks amazing. And then there's even a few more things that I want to talk about that we're not going to tease right now. So you have to pay attention to the whole episode because I got stuff to talk about. But on that note, let's just get right to it. Let's stop wasting time.
I can't believe, I'm so happy that we have been able to last the writers and actors strike, because one of the first things you said to me when the writer's strike or when the actor strike was over, you're like, we can now interview actors again. And I didn't even put two and two together, like, oh, right. That's why no one's talking about any projects with us anymore, because they contractually couldn't.
Right. And it was funny, too, because the biggest irony of the whole thing was that, soon as the SAG strike ended, I've been talking to a handful of people, and the day it ended, they're like, we can finally do this. Sorry it took this long. And I'm like, yes. So hopefully before the end of this year, which is, we'll see. I mean, because we know that next week we're not having an episode, everyone. Next week we're not having an episode because it's Thanksgiving. Michael's going on his travels, and I need a break. So let's just go with that.
It's funny that it feels, in all transparency, Taylor does the most work on this show, and I believe that shows. But I think that you're so plugged in. I feel like we're at a really weird, not precipice, but like everything is about to stop for the holidays, but simultaneously, get ready for the casting. Stopping. Everything has got to come back because, I mean, they got to get the ball rolling again.
Yeah, this is the time of the year where everything's supposed to slow down. But because of the way the strikes operated, this is the time of the year now where things are going to be ramping up. I mean, Colin Farrell just landed back in New York a couple of days ago to finish filming The Penguin, which normally this is when he's going home for the holidays. So that kind of gives you an idea of what's happening right now.
Yeah, and it also means that all of those people are ready to work. Like, you know what I mean? They've been on vacation. They are ready to work for the next 6 weeks to finally get something on the table for the beginning of next year.
And there's so much. I mean, there's so much going on.
Well, let me ask you this, because one of the things that you do such a great job of is knowing the nitty-gritty. So what specifically was the final deal with the actors? What are the tentpole things? What exactly did they agree upon?
So there was a lot actually that went through. Some of the biggest ones had to do with streaming, because that's the big one. The best way to, a lot of these contracts are done behind closed doors, and that is the reality of it. The writer's strike, we have some bullet points of what was agreed on, but they have yet to actually show what the final agreement is. And most SAG members understand that the contract have to be kept under lock and key. So even if I called up one of my SAG friends, they couldn't show you the contract. Yes, they signed it, they agreed to it, but all of these contracts are not allowed to actually be disclosed publicly, because that's how contracts work, and it's kind of NDA style stuff. So the best example of what is actually happening right now, I'll just pull it up for you. The Hollywood Reporter dropped this article earlier today, how the SAG-AFTRA streaming bonus compares to other guilds. And that was a big one, because the big thing of this strike, as well as for the writers and the actors, was streaming bonuses, streaming recognition, and AI. And those are the big things. This one talks about kind of just plainly what they agreed to. And the agreement was actually, I think, at 80% voted yes. So there's still 20% of the SAG members who are kind of mad that this thing ended, but 80%, 80 plus, I think it was like 85, 86%, I think was the number,
Okay.
voted yay, and it moved forward. So they talked about all the stuff that was happening. A negotiation resumed in October. Things went down, cost factors, everything in between. Let's talk about how the deals stack up, and that's the big one. So streaming residuals was the big one, right? Let's see, TV seasons or a movie in the first 90 days of an exhibition year, you essentially residual kicks in the equivalent of 20% of what the domestic subscribers are. That's a pretty big jump of from 0 to 20, right?
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool one. So let's see. When the SAG-AFTRA splits from its peers, the Creation Payment Distribution Fund, that fund, which will jointly be overseen by the union and the AMPTP, will pay 75% of the bonus to performers on movies and series that reach 20% threshold. The remaining 25% will be given to other performers on the streaming based on a set of undermined guidelines by the fund's trustees, a provision that led one studio sides, basically they're calling it a Robin Hood fund. So stealing from the rich and giving to everyone else.
What does that 20% mean? What does it mean 20? Like, we're gonna spend probably a little bit of time talking about the Rebel Moon trailer. Rebel Moon is gonna have lots of eyes. For lack of a better term, it is a Christmas movie. You will be opening presents and watching Rebel Moon Part 1. So how many people need to watch that for those actors to get bonuses?
Well, that's the trick. And I was actually talking to someone about this earlier, specifically on the topic of what happened with Warner Brothers and the Coyote versus Acme movie that was canned and then uncanned.
Wait. Is it back on now?
So I'll go into it in a second. And basically what the deal was, they canned it because they realized that it wasn't fiscally responsible of a movie. And you can argue that it's art, it's this, it's that. But the reality is this business is in the hole and it needing to be out of the hole. And they're having to do whatever they can to make it balance. And if you look at the box office equivalents for every Warner Brothers movie that has touched the Looney Tunes property in the last decade or maybe even decade or two, they've been operating in almost a 1-to-1. Like whatever the profit, whatever the budget you put in, you barely saw a profit on these movies. So yes, the movies have fantastic ratings, fantastic reviews, but people just aren't resonating. So the studio said, okay, we spent almost $80 million making this movie with distribution costs, with marketing costs. We have to make about $200 million to make this thing shine. And the last Space Jam didn't even clear that. And that was why they were like, what if we just killed it and then took the hit? Because it wasn't just, they're selling it for tax money. They were only getting $30 million back in a tax rebate, which is less than half of what they spent on the film. So this wasn't a decision just to kill the movie because it was something that they wanted to get rid of. It was the fact that they did not see it feasibly making them money. So unfortunately, we are in a capitalist society, and that means that these studios are literally where art and capitalism meet. And you have to be able to make a profit for these things to exist. Track record of Looney Tunes was that they weren't going to make a profit. It was betting against the horse, essentially. The internet freaked out. And ironically, I will say that every one of these people who bitched and moaned saying that this was a bad decision and caused them to reverse this decision, 90% of them would not have seen this movie.
For sure, Taylor.
Right?
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. The last Space Jam 1 had a soundtrack that people bought, and that's why that movie was so successful. But you're right. They've all done less business in the West, and there hasn't even been a real focus on people know who the Looney Tunes are, but there's not really a Looney Tunes. Your kids are not watching Looney Tunes at the end of the day.
Oh, are they now? But no, the reality is that cancel culture has pretty much crucified the Looney Tunes for the last decade, right? You can't really watch the old school good Looney Tunes without someone bitching and moaning about, there's Bugs Bunny in drag, or there's some racist joke, or there's this or that, because it was a product of the time and people just took a shit on it all the time. And Space Jam was kind of this weird renaissance for the the era, but it was also like banking on the Michael Jordan renaissance, right? So when they tried to repeat itself with Space Jam 2, no one cared.
Space Jam 2 is garbage. It's just references and nostalgia dump, right? It's just like, here's all the things that you want to see in the background.
And ironically, the movie was very critical of the Warner Brothers executive branch. So I don't even see how they were watching this movie and saying, yeah, this makes us look like good guys, you know? But so as this went on, they were about to kill this project. The internet had an outcry. Now they're shopping it around. So Netflix, Amazon, and Apple are all getting a screening of this thing, and it's going to basically go to whoever wants it.
It looked like a Roger Rabbit. You know, when they're showing physical effects and, you know, they blow up this car because this is what's going to happen. I was like, wow, real work was put onto this, not like some animated thing. And I can see how costs got away from them.
Right. And so whoever takes it, and I was actually explaining this to somebody earlier, and this is coming back to the Rebel Moon conversation. They have to sell it. If they want to basically make the money back that they want, they'll have to sell it for 75, 78 million, somewhere in that ballpark. So whoever buys it.
Netflix isn't going to spend 75 million on this.
Right. So all three of those services have spent well more than that on their respective properties. I mean, The Boys, Gen V, all of those shows cost well more than this, right? But they bring in a lot of ad space, a lot of money. You have to look at it financially. I don't see any one of these branches actually buying this thing. And I think this thing will eventually die because, yes, Warner Brothers will give the opportunity for someone to pick it up. I don't see anyone picking it up.
Not for that amount of money, because how much money do you think, even though that's what they spent, we haven't even seen animation. I mean, we saw a little bit, but like how much more money do they need to finish this movie?
Oh no, it's actually finished. It actually is finished. So it was further along than Batgirl was when Batgirl was killed, but Batgirl was killed for a whole different slew of reasons. And everyone's trying to compare that. Oh, if this happens, then why don't they sell this to that? Like this is going to start this whole stupid thing again where they're like, oh, why don't they do this now? Because they got their money back, blah, blah, blah. And it's going to be people who don't understand film or economics or how the industry economics works are going to bitch and moan saying, why can't they do this now? Which is not how the reality works. But now look at Rebel Moon. Part 1, I'm assuming it's just part 1. The budget of part 1 was, I think, 160 million.
Oh, Taylor, it looks expensive,
right?
That trailer, when that space Nazi shows up, and then we see all the farmers, and then we see a galactic battle, then we see
Spider Lady,
5 different worlds. You know what I mean? Like we see all of these different segments that all feel different. I was like, oh, there is budget being spent.
And not even just that. I mean, the cast alone. I was watching the trailer. I'm like, this cast looks expensive. It's a lot of lesser known people, but it's still enough recognizable faces that you realize that they probably spent some decent money on this. I was like, I'm watching it. I'm like, oh, that guy's in Game of Thrones. That guy replaced that guy in Game of Thrones. That's funny. That person's from this, that person. Like I recognized almost everybody.
I'm a little worried that some of the leads of that King Arthur movie are in this movie. That movie was not good. They're all in it.
But no, I mean, we'll argue about this all the time. I actually liked that King Arthur movie, but it was also not really a King Arthur movie. It was a Guy Ritchie film, not a King Arthur film.
It's a Guy Ritchie movie with some video game cutscenes in it.
Yeah. But it was also one of those movies where it was, I'm not going to tell you the story. I'm going to have you figure out the story based on what you see. So it was one of those, I'll show you, but I won't tell you kind of stories. And that was what a lot of people didn't react to it.
If that movie was just called, like The Street King, like don't even make it about King Arthur. Just make it about some kid and don't put it into that lore. I think it would have done better.
Yeah. It could have definitely, but I really liked all the lore and stuff. I really liked what they did with it. I just thought it should have been like a 4-hour movie or at least a 2-parter movie because there was a lot going on for the runtime that they put into it.
It's so much. That movie is on fast forward. It just feels so discombobulated.
So back to the budget of Rebel Moon Part 1, it's about 160 million. And now you can kind of put the pieces together where Netflix had to crack down on the password sharing. And they're basically trying to make it so that anyone who wants to see this movie has to see it on their platform. and you can't share your passwords anymore, so you have to have your own subscription. So they are trying everything they can to make this beneficial.
Now, Taylor, I just know that for every one Zack Snyder fan, there is 2 Zack Snyder haters. Can Netflix make this money? Can they, like, how do they make money? How do they even, like, do they expect people to buy new subscriptions to see this?
I don't know, because the reality is that they typically gauge this on online traffic and how many people are actually showing up, how many people are watching these things, how many active subscribers, the spike before and after the movie. They look at all these things of all the factors of, was this a successful product? And to kind of put it in perspective, this is Zack Snyder's second project with them. He had a project he had Army of the Dead. He worked on a animated spin-off for Army of the Dead, which is now, according to Zack himself, it's in limbo. They recorded all of the dialogue. They have all the previous animation ready, but the project is dead in the water right now. So that we don't know if that means the project is dead, or if they're just waiting to see if this is successful before they dip back into that universe. But it already is kind of a weird warning sign that Netflix bought all of these projects and has only moved forward with 2 of them and left one on the wayside already.
Is there any chance that we do not see Rebel Moon Part 2?
Oh, it's already done. They can't undo it at this point.
Why did balloons just show up?
Did you do something to make balloons happen? I don't know.
No, I didn't do shit. Where did those balloons come from? Come back, balloons. I don't know, Taylor. That was weird.
You did something. We'll figure it out. One of these days we'll understand what we just did.
I don't know. That was weird. Okay, well, I'm a balloon boy.
Is there like
because
a press to make you?
No, I all the time wish that we had balloons. I would, like if I had animations, I would use them all the time. I don't know. Maybe it's something on my end. Okay, I didn't mean to sidetrack this. But like, I know Netflix's model. They're not going to be selling.
Okay,
they're not.
It is a Mac reaction effect that exists only on your computer.
Why? Why do I have balloons though? I didn't even do a balloon emoji.
Do a peace sign. Okay, do a thumbs up. Wave your hands with the peace sign or thumbs up. I don't know. It's basically saying that it's a visual effects setting that you have on your computer that is called reactions, live reactions. You can make like a heart on your chest, and it'll make like hearts fly across the screen if you have it turned on. I don't know. Something with your computer did that.
I've had this happen to me in other podcast recordings, and I thought it was a Google thing. Oh, I didn't even know I could do this. Let's go. Let me make a Care Bear stare. Oh, I'm doing it, Taylor! How do I love it. I'm like a Care Bear now. This is one of my...
I don't have a...
Yeah! This is amazing! Hot dog! Hot dog! Hot dog! I apologize for derailing the show, everybody.
So after we're done, Google Mac reactions.
Yes, I will.
Gestures.
I'll Google Mac reactions later.
Like a better heart.
I gotta do a better heart, not my So, okay, back to the topic at hand. Will they be selling? Oh, yeah. The movie comes out December 22nd. Will you be able to go to Target to buy Rebel Moon on Blu-ray?
No. That's something that Netflix has actually stopped doing. They stopped actually releasing a lot of their products on physical release. For the while, Target was the only place you could get Stranger Things on Blu-ray, but they only did seasons 1 through 3. Season 4 never got a physical release, which is kind of a bummer. Because, I don't know. I think that's kind of going back to Netflix wanting to, like, essentially, we're leasing you our videos, and you can never take them home with you. You have to have a subscription to watch these, which is... kind of a bummer, but we'll see what happens. I mean, I would have thought that they, with a budget that size, they would have done a limited release first. But for our understanding, they've announced that they're only getting a physical 70mm release for like a couple days, and there's only 4 theaters that do that in America. So How are you going to make $100 million off of those 4 theaters for like 5 showings?
You're not. And the tried and true Zack Snyder fan base are going to purchase all of those tickets instantly. So they will make their money for those runs, but then how does everybody else get a chance to see it?
Like, I'm kind of bummed out too about it, because like the Northwest Pacific Science Center in Seattle, the actual IMAX Science Center, I was really hoping they would have it. I was going to go see it there, but apparently it's not going there. So fingers crossed there's enough of a fan demand to get them to do it, but I don't know what's going to happen.
Do you think this will be a deal, what's happened with other Zack Snyder projects, that in a couple of years he'll do an event and he'll show a screening of it, but that this will not be for the general public?
Yeah, this is not the Snyder cut of Rebel Moon is what we're getting. We're probably going to get, I think he actually said it in another interview, that he's going to eventually, once both parts are released, he's going to release a single director's cut of both of them together with the other stuff put back in, because they've already revealed that this cut coming out on December 22nd is PG-13. So we already know that this is the theatrical cut, and the ultimate cut's coming later.
Anytime I hear Zack Snyder theatrical cut, I hear red flags.
Yeah.
Because he needs as much film and as much celluloid as you have to tell a story.
Yeah.
Do you think that some of this will hurt this first go around of it?
I don't, because I don't think people have realized that there's going to be a potential second cut, so they're just going to watch the crap out of this one and then be, oh my God, how did that happen when another cut gets announced? It's like, I don't know. It
is so epic. It feels like Seven Samurai. It feels like The Fifth Element. It feels like Star Wars. It feels like straight up anime. Like just anime.
I legitimately, I watched the trailer and I really liked how it felt very realistic. Like, it wasn't like they were wearing these weird outfits that you're like, oh, who does that wear? It was like a dude literally wearing like a tie, like a suit and tie. Like, I'm like,
yes,
okay, that's weird. These guys literally look like Nazis. Like, not even hiding it. Like, here's his hat and his black tie and his suspenders, and all he's missing is the little SS brand on him. Like, I'm just like, I'm waiting for it. But he was just like, there's so many other things we can focus on. The wardrobe department doesn't need to make jumpsuits. Like, let's just do normal stuff. Let's put overalls on this character. So it legitimately felt really grounded and real. And then you see a samurai chick with laser swords. So
looks great. I'm so down. And the idea that we get the first movie to introduce these characters and see them go, and then a second movie where the plan is executed. That Anthony Hopkins robot is going to die. I don't know how he's going to die, but he looks too old. That's an old school robot. That robot does not make it to part 3.
Unless the robot is telling the story and this whole movie is a retrospect. And that's how I see it going.
But then you show me that picture that you put up, that picture again.
Where he looked hella old? Oh, which one?
No, just the one picture that you had for us, the one where they were just standing. Why is he standing there in the field with everybody, Taylor?
Because he's probably the one witnessing it all and then tells the story later.
Oh, I don't know. Also, he
did that once before. There's another movie out there called Sucker Punch. That's literally the whole point of the movie.
Listen, hopefully this movie does not have the same flaws that Sucker Punch has, but hopefully maybe some of the same action cues that Sucker Punch had.
Yeah, Sucker Punch was an actually fantastically fun movie to watch, but you could tell that there's a director's cut missing in that world, because there's some plot stuff that you know that there's like 45 minutes more of that movie that have not seen the light of day.
I'm sure there's more. I got creeped out with the girls. And all of it is creepy to me. All of it feels like it needs more explanation.
Yeah. But so on a separate note from all of that, another big thing that happened this week, and I'm not going to throw up the spoiler tag, because if you don't know what's happening lately, then are you just under a rock? Because this is like the biggest news of the week.
Attack on Titan has finally finished its run.
No, we talked about that last week.
But I hadn't seen it. Now I've seen it.
Now you've seen it. And now you understand when I say there's not going to be a sequel, because they wrapped it up.
I also feel, and this is something that I can say as an adult person, endings of shows are all bad. They're bad because you are realizing you don't get any more story. There's no more adventures. There's no more behind the corner. There's no more spending time with this. I thought the ending of the show was exactly the ending that this show has been setting up since the very beginning. I'm sad that we don't get any more, but the show's message is very clear. It's an anti-war show,
Yeah.
and the ending just shows you that it's still anti-war.
What was that quote where man was always destined to fight and kill each other? Even if there was two people left on the planet, they would still kill each other till there's only one left.
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of the message of the whole show, was that no matter what, mankind's innate nature is to try to subject and kill each other.
And they didn't even show us, like, we just saw that one futuristic city. There could have been Macrosses, there could have been mobile suits, there could have been whatever you wanted to, but the world doesn't get any better. And the characters we know have now moved on.
Yeah. We saw essentially a episode-long epilogue. And
Yeah.
that should be enough for people to realize that there's not any, like, we saw certain characters grow old and then clearly pass on. Like, you know that the story is over. But as history repeats itself, that was the point of the ending, was that at hundreds of years later, people forgot the lessons that were learned, and now history has repeated itself. Like, we are, and that's the biggest farce of human nature, is that we constantly make the same mistakes. Constantly.
I thought it was great. I thought that that fight scene is worthy of an ending of an anime. That's as cool as anything else. You know what I mean? I thought that they did a great job. Cart Titan really came in handy in that last one. I thought it showed everybody really well.
I thought it was great. I liked how the original manga had the same story, but this one added more to it to make it feel less jarring. So
I will say that Attack on Titan makes me cry more than any other anime.
Well, as I said last week, Attack on Titan is essentially a Gundam anime wrapped in a medieval atmosphere.
Right.
Like, it is, and this is why I like the Gundam franchise so much. The Gundam franchise is about how bad war is, and they are not afraid to pull punches. Most Gundam shows end with a main character or the main character dying. Like, that's how the Gundam shows go. Surprisingly, the last couple haven't. Well, one of the last ones straight up murdered the main character in a very sad way. The last one had a happy-ish ending.
Blood Orphan did not have a good ending.
Iron Blood Orphans? No, that was not a happy ending. That was one where you're just like, I hate everything, but it's so good. Like,
but I have distracted you. For those that aren't living under a rock, what news did you want to bring up?
So, Loki season 2 came to an end. And simultaneously did this show not only prove that in the right hands, Marvel can shine still, but it also made this glaring reality to everything else, right? You have the guys who crafted the show who've said repeatedly now, there was no planned Loki season 3. Not going to happen. There's nowhere for the go. They said that Loki will come back, probably in Secret Wars, but that is it for this character. For
Taylor, let's also be honest. There's barely Loki season 2. There is.
It was Loki season 1, the extension.
Right. And in that regard, I really liked it. I really like that we can see the trajectory of the show, where it starts and where it ends, and why this character makes that decision. But one of the problems I had with this season is, like, episode 1 and 2, I did not know what was going on. Now, by the end of it, I understood, and I have some questions for you about that. It's so funny, and I said this to you off air, and I'll say it to everybody now. Taylor has always said he likes the Greek pantheon of gods version of Thor. And we have gone so far away from that. They're space people. They're basically like all the other space people. And to see the ending of this show literally come back to Norse mythology again, right? Like, literally full circle of, like, this is really what it is.
Like, spoiler alert. Okay, in the mythology, Loki is not actually known as the god of mischief or anything like that. He's actually known as the god of stories. So this is the most on-character thing that they've ever done with the character in the MCU. Aside from that, he also used his power to weave the dead and dying branches of the timeline into Yggdrasil, the tree of life. circling back to the end of the first Thor movie, where you see that the 7 kingdoms of Asgard and all of the different places, all of the different kingdoms, the 7 realms, I think it was the 9 realms. I think it was the 9 realms, made up the universal Yggdrasil that Odin looked over. So not only did they pull that back to front and center, but some of the actual cues, that some of the dialogue that Loki said came straight out of the first movie. I mean, obviously the episode's called For Glorious Purpose, which is what he was saying the entire Avengers movie. I am here with glorious purpose to basically fuck your shit up. Like, that was what he was basically doing.
It's also
what his glorious purpose was.
Right. It's also the thing that the Loki variant says, the British guy, he says, glorious purpose. You know what I mean? So, like, yeah.
Loki's glorious purpose was to sacrifice himself and hold time together.
Yeah.
When he says, become the god of stories.
Yeah. He goes, I know what kind of god I want to be. And I was like, wow.
And this was one of the best moments, because at the end of the first Thor movie, when he's talking to his dad,
right on the bridge
before he lets go, he says, I was doing this for me and for all of you. Like, he says the same line again when he's sacrificing himself. He says it to Sophie, the exact verbatim, word for word, what he said to Odin. In his eyes, like a week prior, because this version of Loki hasn't been, well, actually, no, this version of Loki, we now understand what the time slipping has been around for centuries, but still.
Well, that as well. And what's so funny is, so when you're little kids, you have conversations of who would win in a fight. This Loki has now leveled up to the actual power of a god, correct?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to me, it was like how in the first Doctor Strange movie, when Doctor Strange goes against Dormammu and has that, I've come here to bargain, and keeps doing that same scene over again. There is a reason why the first time you see Doctor Strange, he sucks at magic. And then in the next movie, you see Doctor Strange, he's the literal Sorcerer Supreme. It's because they said that he went through that time loop like 100,000 years worth of time loops. So enough time to perfect your craft. He had the 10,000 hours times infinity. So Loki did that too. Loki literally went through every quantifiable option to figure out how to fix this, and then realized that He Who Remains had set this up as a failsafe to bring him back to life. And he chose not to follow that trap and then to sacrifice himself to then become the new He Who Remains.
Now, he can never leave that chair, correct? He just lives there now.
He's stuck there unless something changes.
Okay.
And when that changes, that's probably where we're going to see him next. My theory is that whatever they're doing with Doctor Doom or the Beyonder or the Kangs is going to eventually result in Loki stepping away from that. Or maybe he's found a way to hold it together without him being there. And then he comes back into the fray.
And and we will talk about superhero fatigue, but as a person that watches these shows, Taylor, I want more Loki. Not necessarily in this story, but if we're talking about powerful beings within the MCU, Loki has now got to be on a god team. I mean, I don't know who else you put on that team, but I need to see him, and we also need to see him communicate with Thor again. Because I kept thinking about Thor in all of this. You know what I mean? When they were like, oh, you're not fast enough. I'm like, he's got a brother that's really fast and strong, right?
Well, it's ironic that you watch this thing and you realize that this version of Loki didn't have all those good moments with his brother. This is the version of Loki that he didn't reconcile.
Right.
This Loki was pulled from the timeline before he went to prison, had his heart-to-heart with his brother, and his mom died, and then had all these good moments, and then eventually died standing up to Thanos. This is the version of Loki that the last thing he was doing was being an asshole to Tony Stark. And then now he has become probably one of the best characters of the MCU, arguably.
He has become... It was so funny, because when he first started as a character, he wanted to be Odin, and you're like, what a farce. I believe he could be the new Odin.
He's better than Odin, right? Odin has limits. So look, he does it now.
Yeah, Loki can absolutely say, hey, I'm taking the Asgardian people off of Earth. I will take care of you again. I understand the responsibility. Because now I see him on that level, where beforehand he wasn't. He's a very powerful being now. And I would love to see him go against the other powerful beings of this universe.
Another thing that I really liked about this finale was when you see Mobius's kids, right? He has 2 boys. The younger boy is lighting a fire in the front yard and is riding on a green bike. The older brother is looking after the younger brother, riding on a red bike, wearing blue and red. And you see that those Mobius's 2 kids are essentially Thor and Loki. The older brother looking after the younger brother starting shit and the older brother being told by dad to go fix it.
You're telling me Mobius's youngest son isn't going to become the new Ghost Rider? You're not saying that?
No, when I was watching it, I'm like, they just did another symbolic, like, this is it. It's another full circle moment. And again, but no, I really liked it. I really liked what they did and how they even said, Tom Hiddleston said in an interview that this has been kind of like, this is the end of his 14-year like stretch as Loki. This is his conclusion. But even the writers like, yeah, this may be the end of that story, but don't expect to not see Loki again before everything wraps up. So by the time Secret Wars comes around, we're going to at least see Loki one more time.
I hope Loki isn't the Deus Ex Machina that saves everything, though.
He probably is going to be like the Beyonder is going to be like, I'm killing everything. They're all dying. And Loki's like, here I come.
Yeah, Taylor. Okay, so should we spoil it for everybody? They're going to do a Secret War movie. They're going to lose at the end of that movie, and we're going to go to Loki, and he goes, no. And he flips the thing, and it goes back, and Tobey Maguire goes, do you got the plan? And Wolverine goes, we got to do something different. I feel different. This feels weird.
They're going to do something like that. It's going to be, I mean, it's going to be fun to watch, but you're going to be like, I saw that coming years ago. Yeah. I mean, that's why people say that the multiverse storytelling is a bit lazy because you can get away with shit like this.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see what they do with it.
I also don't think that lady's dead. That lady that they put on the in-between world with the...
Yeah, they dropped Ravenna. What was her name?
Ravnica? Riva?
No, what was...
Rebecca? Rumpelstiltskin. It's Rumpelstiltskin.
Ravenslayer, something like that.
Reba the male lady.
All right. Ravonna Renslayer.
She was the general of his army and helped conquer the universe. She's gonna go ride that thing like a dune sandworm and go after the TVA.
No, it's gonna just be like that scene in Beetlejuice where the thing's gonna come through her ceiling and she's gonna be like coming down on it. Like that's what we're gonna get when she shows up next. Something just ridiculous. It's gonna break the fourth wall literally and just rip through the stream.
Yeah, right. It will break the fourth wall. It makes me sad to see Loki come to an end, and I liked it so much, but that so many of the other shows have fallen so flat.
And on that same note, we're gonna segue right into the next thing.
Of the Marvels doing terrible.
The Marvels dropped in theaters, and right now, it is essentially for 15 years, the MCU has reigned the supreme in the box office, but this movie has officially dropped the lowest opening worldwide, domestic, everything out of the entire MCU. And that's lower than The Incredible Hulk, Ant-Man and the Wasp 3, everything. Like it is the lowest now. It made less money than The Flash. Right?
I know it's a bad movie, Taylor, when the only scene people are talking about is the last 2 minutes at the very end.
Yeah, and that was the scene.
And that makes me really sad.
And I think I think it got leaked not because it was I think it was an intentional leak. It was very much like the
100% it was intentional. Yep.
Like you know exactly what it was because you're like, wow, they clearly leaked that information so that people would be like, oh, X-Men, yes, I'll be there. But I don't know. I've heard a lot of mixed things from people. Some people say it's the worst MCU movie ever. Some people said it's dumb fun and I enjoyed it, etc. But
as a fan of superhero movies, which a lot of people are not, I guarantee you the movie is fine. And when I watch it on December 22nd to combat with Rebel Moon, I will text you and say the movie was silly fun and it was fine.
The one thing I actually had a friend send me one scene, and it was the musical scene that everyone is critiquing the hell out of. And all I can say is somehow Carol Danvers also has powers to give her Disney princess dress.
Okay, I mean, sure, why not?
Yeah, and that's literally I'm like, okay, fuck it, whatever. I've already accepted this. But
the stakes of this movie are so different than think of any of the Captain America movies.
Any one of them.
Any one of them, the stakes are the end of the world, where this movie, it just looks, there's a lot of dancing, There's a lot of hanging
that's
out.
That's the weird thing about it. This movie's supposed to be weird, quirky, fun, but the villain of the movie is literally going from planet to planet to siphon its resources to give birth to her old planet again. So
I believe
the stakes are pretty damn high,
Yeah,
but there's a musical number.
I believe Nerdrotic was the one that made this first point that literally it's the same plot as Spaceballs, where she's going to suck all of the air out of all of the air and water off a planet, which is what they do in Spaceballs.
But Spaceballs is an iconic classic.
An iconic classic. This is not that.
Yeah.
Okay. Marvel's is doing bad. It's not going to make its money.
Another thing that I want to bring up, not ever so slightly. This is something that is actually a big deal for me. And you may or may not have already seen this, but I'm gonna show it in 2 slides. Nintendo has officially announced a Legend of Zelda movie, and they're making it with Sony Pictures. And everyone on the internet simultaneously was like, "Hell yeah, Zelda!" And just like me and everyone else, this was the reaction they had.
Oh, yeah.
It's live action. And that was the biggest thing. I'm like, okay, so first off, how?
Like, and why not go
no
to
one
Universal?
Is going to be happy.
But why not? I understand they don't want to.
It's not animated. And yeah.
I know they don't want it to be they don't want it to be funny. They don't want it to be Illumination. They don't want it to be like the Minions. But they already are so integrated into the theme parks with them. Also, Sony has a weird track record with live action stuff. Uncharted was weird. Also, I told Taylor to watch the Knights of the Zodiac. That's a weird movie, and that's live action.
You know, it's just but like to me, it's also kind of like how M. Night Shyamalan made his what was the trilogy called? I think he called it like he actually named it something later. Like in retrospect, it's like the train trilogy or whatever. It was like the name of the train where you have Unbreakable, Split, and Glass. Each one of those movies is a different distributor, and it's because he owned the property, so he was able to do whatever the hell he wanted with it. And that's what Zelda is happening. I mean, Nintendo's literally like, we own these characters. We're just leasing off the ability to make these movies with somebody. Universal got Mario, and they're going to get Donkey Kong, and they're going to get Mario 2. But Metroid's going to go to this studio. Zelda's going to go to this studio, and we're going to just mix it all up.
Okay, well, if that's the case, then do not send Metroid to Paramount, because they're just going to Halo that shit, and that was awful. So who else is in the room? Maybe Legendary? I mean,
I don't even know. But
okay, so
we're getting into speculation territory. The fact of the matter is, they're making a Zelda movie with a good director, right? This is the guy that's currently making the new Planet of the Apes movie that looks fantastic. If you haven't seen that trailer, the trailer looks great. And in my hope is that he's doing something like that, where the movie's going to be this weird hybrid live action animation thing, and that's what we're getting. But I don't believe for a second we're going to get that. I think we're going to get some casting that is going to be more divisive than any casting in the state. Like, if people thought the Chris Pratt as Mario casting was controversial, wait to see whoever they cast wearing the green tunic for the first time, and no one is going to be happy.
100%, because even though you don't like the way Mario sounded, Mario looks like Mario. If you mute that movie, it is a video game, okay? Yeah. You're absolutely right.
But even then, Chris Pratt didn't actually do that bad of a job. And the intro Mario rap with the Italian accent, it was fantastic. And then they made a joke out of it, which was even funnier.
I've watched that movie now for a second time. The weakest part of that movie is them getting to Mario Land. And Mario 2 is just going to start off in the world already, and it's going to be super fun.
No, I'll tell you the exact weakest part of that movie for me. It was when Princess Peach is like, he'll kill you. But okay, let's go. That was the weakest part. That transition where she said, okay, let's teach you how to fight. They jumped. They're like, how do we need a single line of dialogue to get them on the same page. And that was the weakest part of the whole movie for me. Everything else was fantastic.
When Mario's training to learn how to be in the Mushroom Kingdom, I kept singing the South Park song. We're gonna need a montage. I was like, this is exactly what's happening.
So Zelda is
Taylor. You cannot do a Zelda movie in 2 hours.
Depends on which story you adapt. You know, it's like
Okay, so he has to. So so if that's the case, then we don't get multiple tunics. We have to see Boomerang. Like, there's so many things people want to see. Like, it's got to be two parts. You got to have Ganon take over the kingdom, and then Link fix it. And Taylor, what Zelda story do you even want on film?
And that's the thing. I looked through the games to try to figure it out. And unless you're adapting one of the first three, you need a TV series. Because only the first three were the quickest ones, where the princess is captured, or like Link's Awakening. He's sleeping in bed. He hears Princess calling to him. He goes out. His dad is like, take this sword, dude. Go find the secret passage. And you start just fucking shit up from there. Like, unless that's where this movie is going to be, someone's going to be like, okay, I need 5 movies, or I need a miniseries. It's not working.
Taylor, I think that a Zelda, Link, we can say Zelda, but a Link movie should have no talking from the main character. It should be like that TV show Primal. It should be just adventures and kingdoms and ruin and grass everywhere and monsters.
What I want is what they've done in the Persona games, where you hire like an actual good, like Johnny Young Bosch did the voice of like one of the characters, and there's not an actual line of dialogue that the character speaks, and this actor who's known for good dialogue is doing ha hoo ha, and that's it, right? Like, I just want the grunts. I want like little yes, okay, like things like that, just little quick quips, and that's I don't want Link walking out there and being like, for the kingdom of Hyrule, I will love it. Like, I don't want monologues from Link. I want Link to be the stoic, quiet hero.
It's so funny as well.
Everyone else.
It's so funny that Sony wants to do this partnership with Nintendo when it's like, Sony, you could just make a Shadow of the Colossus movie, and I bet it would do great.
I'm sure they're going to. And there's so many projects that Sony's actually working on right now that I feel like they just took this on as like a good faith, like, hey, we're not mad at you anymore, Nintendo. Because that was
or maybe they want to do some crossovers on the next Nintendo console that's coming out. Maybe some Sony games make their way over there.
I think, honestly, there's a part of me that thinks that the reason Sony and Nintendo agreed to this partnership is because now they're like, hey, we're not enemies. Microsoft is. Let's be friends. And they're kind of just like quietly playing Japanese politics against the American empire.
I mean, maybe, right? But didn't it get leaked that like Microsoft would love to buy Nintendo? Like, they would love to have a hit game.
It was leaked that Microsoft was literally trying to stage a hostile takeover. And every Japanese company, whenever they read that, they're like, nah, fuck that guy. Like, they know very quickly, like, that's not okay. So I thought that was a little funny that's where they went with it.
Before we I want to play the Zelda speculation game with you, but you're right. Now we're in speculation town. The writer's strike is over. Actor strike is now over. Marvel Cinematic Universe is a dumpster fire and is probably at the lowest place it's ever been. What do they do? Because all of this is the excitement's going to come back. Deadpool 3 is going to do great because Deadpool 2 is good and people are going to want to see Deadpool 3. So where does Marvel
thing. So when the strike was lifted, all these release dates got shifted around. Captain America 4 is getting retooled. Something like 60% of the movies getting refilmed, things like that. Like all the stuff we were talking about last week about how they're going to pull this off, they're now going back to the drawing board. They even said Daredevil is getting a ground zero complete retooling from the ground up. Deadpool is going to be the only 2024 Marvel movie. And that is insane. That the only movie that Disney and Marvel are putting out next year is going to be rated R.
It speaks to how well Ryan Reynolds has written that character and preserved that character from all of Hollywood politics to get to be that mantle. And I think Disney needs that much time to get these stories back on the same page. Because
there was actually articles that came out today on that same note. There was articles that came out today that apparently the big rumor along the internet right now, like for Twitter and like Reddit and all that stuff, like the most unreliable corners of the internet are now all speculating simultaneously that they're actually moving away from Kang altogether, and they're using this ending of Loki as the branching point, because the ending technically wrapped up Kang's story to where they can now move on to something else.
Which it technically didn't, because Kang said there's millions of. He said there's millions of me out there, which is fine that they'll ignore that for now. I do.
But then
feel
they have
like,
the TVA hunting them down, so you can also argue that the TVA is now back, and now they're interfering.
So the TVA is now the new Shield, because Shield lives in space and isn't a thing anymore. Like,
yeah, so Shield is dead. Now it's Sword, and the TVA is essentially the multiverse Shield.
Okay. I think it's going to take a year for them to figure out what they're going to do, because this Loki gave them such a great, powerful image. Like, that image could be on a movie screen, and I guarantee you it will be on a movie screen.
Yeah, I have no doubt that they're even talking about broadcasting that finale episode on theaters.
You think so?
100%. They have no content. They're probably going to do a special engagement, watch the finale of Loki on the big screen.
It would probably look good. It would probably look really good.
You can actually tell that it was actually mixed and edited for that size of screen. So they actually, I'm like, wow, who is this for? Because it's clearly not people at their house.
All of these other shows, I've said to Taylor, feel like Power Ranger shows. The Miss Marvel show feels like a Power Ranger show. This show felt so cinematic and felt like a worthy successor to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I just want more of it, because even like WandaVision's best stuff, I don't know, it didn't feel like that level.
It was interesting because like we have these moments in these shows where this happens. And I remember when I was first watching Ahsoka and I texted you like right off the bat, the first episode feels like a movie.
Yes.
It didn't feel like a show. I was like, this is Dave Filoni. I trust him with whatever Star Wars movie he's making, because if he did this on a TV show, he nailed it.
And what's funny is the newer season of Ahsoka does such a great job of feeling that. And the thing that I miss from the Mandalorian show is that it doesn't feel cinematic anymore. It feels
first season, very much so.
Yes.
Season 3, not really.
No. And I hate
a couple parts did, but not.
Yeah. And
not the
I
Jack
also,
Black episode.
Well, I hate video game talk in movies and in TV shows. I hate video game talk. I hate when they're telling us what the mission is, when you have to go over to this boulder and blow it up. If I'm not in control of the controller, you need to write better dialogue. If this is not a video game, this doesn't work.
You mean the when they do it in every movie, and I hate it when they do. It's the plot dump where they don't know how to naturally explain the situation, so they have to rush through this little paragraph. Stop it with the hearts, man.
I was trying to make hearts on you. I'm sorry. I agree with you.
You do it the right. No, like to me, is when we saw Batman Begins when we were in high school. Were we in high school? Or no, we were done with high school actually. When we saw Batman Begins, and when the gas starts happening, and then he drives up to Commissioner Gordon, and then plot dump where he just rushes through this paragraph of, I have to stop it from this. The gas is getting everywhere. Do you drive stick? That scene, I hate that scene. That's the scene that ruins the most. That like what could have been the perfect Batman film was ruined by a single paragraph of forced plot dumping, because it felt so unnatural. It felt like they're like, shit, we didn't explain any of this, and I don't think audiences will follow what's happening. Plot dump right now. And that's what they did.
Dark Knight has none of those scenes, but the third one does.
Third one is like every couple scenes there's a plot dump.
I'm thinking of the scene where they go to the water, whatever I don't know, they go to a dam, right? She takes Talia, he takes her to the dam for the first time.
Yeah, and he's like, let me explain to you how this weapon works. So I will then foreshadow what you're going to do to it later in the movie. Yeah. And then when you do it, let's have another plot dump where we have this explanation of why I'm the bad guy the whole time. Yeah. That movie was full of that. But no, I hate it when movies do this. And I know it's coming on more of these movies. But on a completely separate note, since we have a lot to talk about and we're still not done, I think I'm going to talk about the last couple of things.
We're getting close to done. Let's talk about it.
The last couple of things. So earlier today, the actor Jacob Elordi from Euphoria and a bunch of other things like The Kissing Booth and a bunch of random things. This actor, most notably known for his role in Euphoria, okay? Say that with me, everyone. He's known for Euphoria, one of the most hardcore shows that I got through the first or second episode and realized I can't watch this. I feel dirty.
You're an adult. You're an adult male. You're not allowed to watch that show.
Yeah. He was doing an interview with British GQ, and he actually said that he got a request to audition for Superman and passed on it because he thought Superman was too dark of a character. And I sat there and I thought about that quote for a while. What? His last movie he was in was Priscilla, where he played a manipulative, abusive version of Elvis, and yet Superman is the dark character. Even Zack Snyder's depiction of Superman wasn't dark. Superman was, the world may have been dark and realistic, but he was trying to do his best. There's nothing dark about Superman. It was everything else.
Do you think he was given James Gunn dialogue? Do you think that this is an indication?
I don't even think he knows what he's talking about, because this is the same kid who admitted that he never had heard Elvis before, but only knew him from Lilo and Stitch.
Okay.
Like, so I think Taylor, this kid is so out of touch that someone needs to slap him and say, dude, do you not know Superman is not Batman?
Is this just you hating on Gen Z? Is this just you coming out and saying that kids don't know anything and they're dum-dums?
Am I becoming that person? Because that's how it felt. When I read what he said in the interview, I was like, oh my God, I have become Clint Eastwood from Gran Torino. I want to hit this kid.
You just pulled out your fingers and just started shooting the air. You were like, get out of here.
Get off my lawn. I was getting so mad that's reading this. Like, I'm like, this kid is so out of touch. He doesn't know anything. Like, Superman is the most iconic character on the planet. And if you argue that Superman's a dark character, you clearly don't know anything about Superman.
I hear what you're saying. I think that this speaks to what you talk about a lot. I think Superman has not been presented in a really good way in a long time. And I think Zack Snyder's was a very particular Superman, but I think a general audience, I think people just don't know about Superman anymore. I think you and I do, because we lived through the renaissance of the Warner Brother cartoons. I feel like we got a lot of great Superman, but like, what's the last thing you have to go out of your way to see Superman now.
But even then, I was trying to even look at any one moment. I mean, aside from Superman killing General Zod, there's nothing dark that the character has done in the entire Zack Snyder trilogy.
Well, he let his dad die. He didn't save his dad. That was pretty dark.
Okay, so being dark by listening to your dad. Okay. And then
listening to your dad usually does bring dark things, though.
Yeah, and sacrificing yourself to save the woman you love. Yeah, that's super dark. Coming back from the dead, saving the world. Yeah, that's super dark. I don't know. Like, none of Zack Snyder's Superman was dark. Batman, hella dark. Wonder Woman, cutting off heads, hella dark. Aquaman, drunk, hella dark. But literally, Superman was like the only character who was not like a total douchebag and dark.
Do you think he legitimately confused Batman with Superman? Like, just doesn't know the fucking difference between the two?
Part of me thinks so. I mean, like I said, he just made an Elvis movie where Elvis was a manipulative psychopath, and then segued off of his time on Euphoria,
Sure.
Does he think Superman somehow exists in the Euphoria timeline? Because, like, I don't understand in any world where anyone can say Superman is a dark character.
Think how crazy Smallville would have been if it was a Euphoria Smallville. If, like, Superman was doing, like, acid and stuff like that and then, like, trying to save people.
Oh, he was trying to do it so he could make it happen because his body resists it. He's like, a mountain of coke, and he's like, it's not working.
Yeah, how much cocaine? He would have to snort all of Colombia, right? There's not enough cocaine in the world.
Like the whole country. Like the trees and everything.
Yeah, Superman can't get drunk. Maybe that's what he meant. He's super dark character because he can never, like, let go of his problems.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, he's a dark character because he has no escape from reality.
There's another planet, though, that makes, like, a mega mushroom that can get Kryptonians high, right? Like, there's got to be something.
That's a conversation for another podcast.
Is there a space? We need an expert. Is there like Green Lantern booze that, like, works on Kilowog? Like, it gets aliens drunk?
some sort of like kryptonite infused marijuana or something that gets him. You know, like some
Taylor.
something.
He crushes. If you crush a little kryptonite on the weed, it'll allow him to smoke it, and he gets high for the first time.
Yeah, there's got to be something like that. But like I said, I just cannot wrap my brain around how this kid, and mind you, Jacob Elordi is not a young person. I mean, he's not an adult person. He is Gen Z. He's 26. Listen, he was born in 97.
I hear you. He also probably isn't a comic book fan. He probably doesn't know anything. And it makes me sad that people think Superman's dark, because Superman's a good dude.
I mean, he's 6'5". He's a giant dude, but his filmography is Priscilla, Euphoria, and 3 Kissing Booth movies.
Okay, well, listen, I'm not a fan of the Kissing Booth franchise. Maybe we should watch the Kissing Booth trilogy and critique his work.
I can already critique it from here. He sucks in it. No, honestly, I know a lot of people were fan casting him for everything, but along with these comments, he also said he's never going to do a comic book role. And I think it's just because he probably thinks he's too cool for the nerdy shit, but also doesn't realize the nerdy shit is the zeitgeist right now.
Right.
So maybe he's just out of touch. I don't know.
Maybe he is. What didn't we get to that we promised on the picture? We didn't touch about Ghostbusters 5.
Is Ghostbusters. Because this movie, I love how the trailer, if you didn't know it was a Ghostbusters movie, it takes like 30 to 45 seconds of the trailer for it to be like, by the way, Ghostbusters. And not only did we get the entire original cast shown in it too, like we saw like that they're not hiding Bill Murray anymore. Like we know that they're coming, but we saw all the other actors. And one of my favorite quotes from this entire project is from Kumali Nanjiani, right? Everyone knows who this actor is. He's like the most popular Pakistani actor in like the world, right? He actually replied to someone on Twitter, because it's Twitter, it's not X, it's Twitter. He said, also, I'm a huge fan of the real Ghostbusters, the animated series. That show was a point of reference for this movie. The filmmakers wanted to make a long episode of the animated series. So if you love that show, as I do, be excited. I want to point out that the real Ghostbusters has the best lore of the Ghostbusters franchise. If you like people, you and I grew up when the real Ghostbusters was a thing. And I loved that show so much. I mean, despite the fact that the visual characterizations of that show looked weird, like Egon was blonde, Ray had red hair, and Rankman was skinny and weird. Like there were some weird visual characterizations, and they all had different color, like Ninja Turtle costumes, essentially. But they had some amazing storytelling in that show, and they brought a lot of lore. They brought a lot of stuff. And if you're giving us a movie where you have this supernatural ghost monster who can scare you to death and freeze everything, that feels already like a plot for one of those episodes. And it's going to be weird, it's going to be funky, and it's going to be not Zool for a change, not Gozer, and not any of those things. They're spreading their rings, and that's what I want.
I like that the world is getting bigger. You know, all these movies, it's like, you know, it attacks this thing, it affects the whole city, but the way that they attack it, the whole city is covered in ice. We're going to get to see fun inventions, fun machines, fun way of getting around, probably different. We get to see the Ghostbusters in a different environment, and that's what I'm excited for. Take them off of Earth and put them in a weird ghost world.
Yeah, I watched that trailer, and like everyone on the internet who loves the Ghostbusters watched it with a fine-tooth comb, and you can already see that the proton packs were upgraded. The Ecto-1 has been upgraded. They have multiple different suits, so merchandising is going to be a hell of a thing. I see it, and I'm like, this is, if they do this right, like this is the way you make like we talked about how Jurassic World was an amazing reboot, right? Jurassic World is essentially like if you rank the Jurassic movies, Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, then the rest, right? This movie, Ghostbusters Afterlife, was essentially like Ghostbusters Afterlife, Ghostbusters 2, and then we forget about the girl one.
Sure.
If they don't make the mistakes that they did with Fallen Kingdom, because that's what they did. The Jurassic Park took what was amazing, they brought it back, they got you hyped, and then they went weird. and just went way off in the deep end. This movie is admitting to itself, to the audience right off the bat, we're going to go off the deep end. But are we going to sink or are we going to swim? And that's where I'm really cautiously optimistic, because I saw essentially like the Slender Man with electric plugs jacking them into his head. And I'm like, okay, that's the villain. You're going to designate a supernatural weird monster for the first time in this franchise, where you're not going to have some like random deity who's going to show up and just bring other ghosts and do, like, you're going to have an actual villain. Don't fuck it up. You know?
I hear you. I hope they can stick the landing. You really liked the last movie. So, I mean, that team is excited. You know, they brought everybody back, basically.
Yeah. And we're going to get, I mean, they're probably going to kill off Bill Murray. They're probably going to kill somebody off, right? You're going to have some emotional thing. It's probably going to be Bill Murray, or it's going to be Ray. I mean, you can't kill off Winston because he's the bankroller, and how they're going to survive without the money. But you're probably going to have to kill off one of the legacies to make it happen. Who's the Han Solo that's going to die in this movie? But
do they come back as a ghost?
That would be fun, though. Like, you have just like one of them die and like, don't catch me, I'm here to help.
Yeah.
Hey guys, like, but I don't know, man. I mean, it's been
a long time since we've had a Slimer, a character that is a ghost, but there's also like that we like as an audience. I wonder if we get a character like that.
But if you're basing this movie essentially off of the real Ghostbusters, Slimer was literally the mascot at the firehouse. Like, he was there and they're like, stop it. Like, they treated him as a plucky comic relief. They didn't catch him. He just made messes and they moved on. I feel like they're going to do that. They're going to get some random character. They're going to fridge a character and then come back as the plucky, like, Patton Oswalt is going to be their ghost.
Do you think it's a ghost dog? Do you think it's a ghost penguin? Like, it's going to be some sort of
it's
weird.
It's going to be Slimer.
You think it's going to be Slimer? You think it's time for Slimer to come back?
I think it's time for Slimer.
If you said it's based on the real Ghostbusters, how do you not have Slimer? He was the dog. He was the Dalmatian of the firehouse.
Yeah, and that was the big gag of that show. And I think that if they do it right, it'll be great. But I think that's where we have to wrap, because we already spent most of our time talking about Loki and Rebel Moon. So
it's crazy that we're already on episode 50, and we'll probably do like 53 episodes probably by the end of the year.
We're skipping next week, and I'm going to try to get some interviews lined up so that we can do some episodes and some interviews. We may hit 60 episodes only because we're going to be recording a bunch all at once. Like, that's what's going to happen.
Sure.
But on that note, everybody,
thank you for joining us. Thank you for keeping us afloat. Thank you for listening to all of Taylor's old manisms. Taylor was coming in hot tonight. If you would like to keep him in those wonderful flannels that keep him so warm, head over to the patreon.com/theculturednerd. That's where you can give us your wonderful whatever you can to help keep us. We have lots of different tiers on there. Here is all the wonderful people that do help out this show.
Sorry.
Thank you, all of your wonderful people, and thank you for all of your support. Your host has been Taylor Murphy. I'm Michael Santel. I've been your co-host. Our logo was by Jose Navarro. Our intro was by Taylor Murphy and Jay Stu. If you have those cell phones handy, get those cameras out. Like, comment, subscribe. Question of the day. What do you want to see in this new Ghostbusters movie? You get the editorial pen. It could be a ghost. It could be an action scene. What do you want to see? What do you not want to see? Thank you so much for joining us for all of our musings. The industry is back, which means there's going to be lots of news. We'll be breaking it here live for you. He's Taylor. I'm Michael. We'll see all you kids and cats next time.
Do I really just wear like a lot of flannel? Do I need to like go?
No.
I moved to the Pacific Northwest, and I think it just became a part of me. I think that's part of living up here.
You need to stay warm. You're a warm. You have that and a plethora of nerd shirts. You're fine. I just pointed it out.
But you pointed it out. Now it's making me realize that half of my wardrobe is flannel now. Oh my God.
You just need to listen. You are channeling something, and I love it. Just like we're channeling the end of the show. Goodbye, everyone.